Good afternoon, everyone, from Bolero Mount Prospect in Mount Prospect, Illinois. This is a special Friday 1 p.m. squad featuring a lot of PBA50 players on the fifth weekend of 7 of this PBA LBC National Championships. I'm $2 Phil Brilo. Rogue Fapi also in the house. We'll be talking to Rogue a little bit later. Unfortunately, no players in the booth because all the big names are bowling, but we are going to be following those big names. We'll follow the players that have a good chance of taking over any of the division leads, but the one that's definitely up in the air right now, the Senior Classic division, is that's a majority of our bowlers here on this squad. We'll give you the run through of everybody on the squad once practice is completed. And if you're watching us on that main YouTube feed, watch any of the pairs in play on the PBA YouTube channel. My best advice, I give it to a lot of people, double tab, open up the pair you want to follow. Use a right click on that listing you have in the description below the video that you're watching. And then keep us on here in the main feed so you can follow your favorite player as they make their way across the bowling center here at Bolero Mount Prospect. They'll cross the house over 6 games. It's a variable movement, so they won't have the same movement every game. So that's another great reason why to keep us on in here on the main feed. Because then we can tell you what pair of players are moving to, how many lanes they're moving, and you can keep an eye on your favorite player. Pretty easy as they move pairs from game to game. And once again, I want to thank the PBA for streaming this event for free for all, every game, every frame, every pair, every squad on the PBA YouTube channel. And as we mentioned, we'll give you the full field rundown. Once they get started, we'll make our way across. Once again, the bowlers on the same PBA LBC National Championships pattern that we started this event with, and we'll use all the way through our final squad on July 13th. That pattern, 42 feet in length, with 31.25 milliliters of oil. $17 milliliters on the forward pass, 14 on the back. And it's about a 4.5 to 1 ratio outside to inside. Or inside to outside. So not quite as challenging as the patterns the PBA50 Tour players have seen all season long, but quality shots are still going to need to be made. In order to have any chance of taking over a division lead. We do have a couple players in the PBA Elite Division League. Nate Purchase and Chris Barnes' son Ryan. So we have our reigning Rookie of the Year in Nate Purchase, and we have the player that I would think would definitely be the 2025 PBA Rookie of the Year in Ryan Barnes. Right now in the Senior Classic division, Dan Higgins came in last Sunday and put a 1356 total that is currently in the lead. Gonna need a few more pins than that, I would think, to take this title down in the Senior Classic division. And there'll still be some seniors bowling our last 2 weekends of the event. Give you the full rundown of the division leaders coming up momentarily as our bowlers are entering their last 2 minutes of practice before we will be underway. Here from Bolero Mount Prospect. Less than a minute of practice remaining. And we'll be underway. 6 games of qualifying. They'll bowl all across the house. It's a variable movement, so once again, we'll get you informed on how many pairs are moving at the conclusion of each game of this 6-game qualifying block. And once again, it's a beat the board tournament. So basically, we've got 4 weekends in already. This is weekend 5. We have 2 weekends to go. And then we'll figure out what players are advancing to the LBC National Championships Clash. Date, location, and broadcast venue to be determined in the near future. We'll have a minimum of 8 players entering into that clash, and we'll see what big money will once again be up for grabs. And of course, all that clash money is all added prize fund money by the PBA.
A round of applause. All right, everyone, good luck and good scoring.
And there's your announcement from Neil Streml kicking things off. Now, all bowlers on this squad, unless I mention otherwise, are going to be in the Senior Classic division, because that's a majority of our squad. One player that's not right there is Chad Raktashel, you see on 5 and 6. Chad's in our Open Classic division. Over on 3 and 4, Bill Miller, Jenny Miller, Toby Contreras, Jeremy Wolf. Only player not in the Senior Classic is Jenny Miller. She's in the Women's Classic division. Over on 5 and 6, the Raktashels, Chad and Corey, Steve Barron, and there is your defending Senior Classic champion. Put up a big 1434 series in 2024. That is one. Bill Froberg. Love that he's wearing his Clash Championship jersey on from last year. I'd wear that with pride too. There's only one way to get that jersey. That's win your division. And Bill did that last year. And he was on a non-PBA 50 squad when he shot that. So he knew the PBA 50 guys were all coming in the following week. He figured his score wasn't going to hold up, and guess what? It did. Oh, there's a trip forward for Jeremy. Nicely done. Let's get over to 7 through 10. 7 and 8, Gary Elstad, John Burkett, Tom Adcock, Jeff Johnson. 9 and 10, Dan Knowlton, Chris Barnes, Steve Kenyon, Michael Haggett. Yeah, that's all old guys. Not to give them too hard of a time. If you get some questions, drop them in the chat. I'll try to get them answered for you as quickly as possible. Taking a look in the chat. Yeah, all pairs are in play. You can watch if you're full screening right now on a big screen or such. You'll have to go out of the feed and go to the main PBA page, and you'll see all the feeds listed there for pair by pair. Otherwise, if you're watching on your laptop or your desktop, take it out of full screen, open up the description below the small form video, and you'll see all the pair feeds available to you. Just right click on one of those and that'll take you to a pair feed of a player that you care to watch. So actually, EJ Tackett bowled last Saturday. He's actually leading the PBA exempt division, so his score of 1450 is what Nate Purchase and Ryan Barnes are shooting for to try to take over the lead in that division. Everybody else, most players on the squad chasing the 13. .56 of Dan Higgins, that's leading the Senior Classic division. And Thelma, which main feed aren't you finding in the archives? I'm assuming you're talking from last weekend or a previous weekend. Drop me a note in there and I'll try to have somebody chase it down, see what's going on with that particular feed. Yeah, they should all be archiving on the PBA YouTube channel. Let's get up to 11 through 14. Larry Acton and John Raskowski. Nate Purchase and Mike Webb, so the only player obviously with Purchase being in the PBA exempt division. All those other players on 11 and 12 in the Senior Classic. Kevin Anderson, Parker Bone the third, Dave Taylor, Jim Horan, all Senior Classic division players. Even with Parker being a Hall of Famer, he still gets the bowl in the Senior Classic division. Scratch Jim Horan, add Mario Quintero, your defending PBA 50 world champion. Took that title on at Jack's 60 last year as part of the second PBA 50 World Series of Bowling. They're having the inaugural PBA 60 World Series of Bowling starting next week at Wayne Webb's Columbus Bowl for the Super Seniors. Then everybody gets back together in Jackson, Michigan for almost 2 weeks of action for the PBA 50 World Series of Bowling at Dave Small's Jack 60. Looking forward to action in both those events. We're at Bolero Mount Prospect, just northwest of O'Hare, for those of you that are familiar with the greater Chicagoland area. About a 15-20 minute Uber if traffic's decent from the airport. Otherwise, it could take anywhere from 15-20 minutes to a day and a half, depending on Chicago traffic. As Purchase comes high, gets a little bit of a break, taking the 10 down. As Webb gets that one to hold. Takes it all down. You might look at some of the players and say, hey, hold on, those are bowling balls they might not be able to use on the PBA or PBA 50 tour. Bowling ball rules a little more relaxed for this LBC National Championships, so the 78 hardness rule is not in effect. So some players may be using equipment that they might not normally use on those respective tours. You might see some purple bowling balls going down the lane. And that's fully allowed as long as it's not one of the banned by the USBC 2016 or 2017 editions of that purple ball. Here's your bowlers on 15 to 18. On 15 and 16, you've got Ryan Allensworth, Grace Zicka, and Craig Keith. Grace bowling in the girls junior handicap division, coming out at a 183 average. It's always good when families get to bowl together, and if you're from the Chicagoland area, you know you've probably had Greg Zicka take a lot of money out of your wallet personally. I know crossing paths a couple of times in tournaments with him. He got a few of my dollars out of my wallet. Craig Keith, not as much, but still another great player in the Chicagoland area. Over at 17-18, Jenny Wonders bowling in the Women's Classic division with Todd Chell, Ricky Schisler, David Bartlett, all those players once again. Senior Classic. And once again, the dress code for this event as well, a little more relaxed than you'd have for a PBA Tour or PBA Regional, PBA 50 Tour event. As shorts are allowed for men and women in the event. There's a PBA Hall of Famer with Tom Hess over on lane 22. Hess off to a hot start with the front four. 21-2, Hess is bowling with Randy Weiss. Who had a nice finish last night in the PBA South Shore Open. Lyle Kuhlman and Curtis Matlock. All those players, Senior Classic. Same with 19 and 20, Rudy Revs, Rudy Kasimakis, Bill Fabian, John Janowitz, who made a run through a couple matches in the step ladder last night at the PBA50 South Shore Open before Chris Barnes took down that title in the championship match. And Craig Auerbach round up that foursome on 19 and 20. Well, we usually keep the sound a little low on the other pairs just on the basis of if people are watching on the main feed, you're not getting your eardrums blown out because those cameras will have sound too, and a lot of people watch to keep our main feed tab open. So we're not going to unfortunately be able to have players in the booth today with everybody bowling, but we can give you information. We'll follow hot hands, that type of thing, answer questions that are in the chat. So that's why it's low. If they're really low, we'll take a look at it after game one, and we'll try to get some of those levels brought back up. But thanks for bringing that to our attention. The main feeds are missing. I'll have somebody look into that, Thelma. I know sometimes they're not marked with like a different slide on the front. Like today we have the PBA50 logo on the main feed. So I'll have to go through. I'll make a note of that, and hopefully they can get that resolved by tomorrow. We'll get a hold of our contact at YouTube and work on those archives. And Hess, front five. We'll get back to him shortly. We want to make sure we get all the players introduced to you in case there's somebody you're looking to watch. Over here on 23 to 26. On 23 and 4, Mike Bugren, Gary Kamez, Frank Lorenzini, and Andy Kaiser. All senior classic players. Next door in 25 and 26, Clint Dacey, John Verbich, Jeffrey Taylor, Frank Guccione. Once again, all those players senior classic division as well. Let's get over to 27 through 30. James McDougall, Jonathan Shallow. Count McDougall is out. And looks like we got another absent with Peter Ferrero. So we only have two players on that pair with Shallow and Kirby Allen. No, I just can't read right. There's still two players on that pair, but McDougall is not here and Ferraro not here. Shallow in the open classic division, Kirby Allen in the senior classic division. And next door on 29 and 30, Joseph Dawson, Damon White, Eric Nelson, Paul Stewart. Eric Nelson in the men's handicap division. Paul Stewart, senior classic. Joseph Dawson in the men's handicap division coming in at a 186 average. And Damon White, bowling the boys junior handicap, coming in at 183. And our final pairings. They're just your players on 31 through 34. Brad Snell, Jeffrey Snell, David Burrito, and Gavin Barkman on 31 and 32. Brad Snell in the open, in the senior classic division. Jeffrey Snell in the open classic. Dave Burrito in the men's handicap. Burrito at 180 at the NRA average. Gavin Barkman in the open classic division. Isai Reeves in the boys handicap division on 33 and 34. Bowling with Mike Denham. Denham in the men's handicap division coming in at 148. And then you've got a former PBA 50 player of the year, Michael Hagen Jr. We're going to get a bounce on the 710. Yeah, we got a bounce, but not in the right direction. And the man who should be PBA Tour Rookie of the Year, Ryan Barnes, rounding out your lineup on this Friday 1 p.m. squad. Once again, E.J. Tackett putting up that total of 1450 for the PBA exempt division this past Saturday. So that's what Ryan Barnes and Nate Purchase are looking to take down. Let's peek in over on Tom Hess, as Hess looking for the 7th in a row. Kind of fell off that one, and yeah, just a bit on the balance. And the run for perfection ends for Hess, but still a quality start on the front 6. Rudy Revs going to be seeing if Revs can get onto the front 7 on 19 and 20. Hard to believe that Rudy Revs is in his 60s. Good to see him back out here bowling, though. And there we go. It may not be the same amount of revs he had when he was younger, but he's definitely been making a statement on the PBA 50 tour this season. Rudy Revs currently in the top 25 in earnings on the PBA 50 tour. Hess with the spare. Hess currently your leading money winner. Well, actually, I can't say that because that's only through the Players' Championship, but definitely he's in the top 5 of money winners this season. Rudy Revs looking for the excellent 8th in a row to start his PBA LBC National Championships qualifying. That's a little left to target. Oh, but he's found something, and there is your front 8.
I know, that's why I noticed that, and I was like, I was just going to watch everybody.
So we will stay here for the remainder of game 1. John Janowitz having another solid year on the PBA50 Tour. Not the player of the year standards he set last year, but still, I mean, week in, week out. You look at the match play rounds, you look at making the step ladder like you did last night, you see that Janowitz name out there quite often. So here we go, Rudy Revs getting ready. Now let's give you an extra look here at Rudy. Looking for the front 9. Oh, the 9 goes late, but it goes. And we've got a chance for just our 6th 300 of this PBA LBC National Championships. Double J tried running the ladder last night at the PBA50 South Shore Open, got through his first 2 matches, and then semi-final match. Couldn't quite finish it off, so ended up with a 3rd place finish. Let's get you a little closer look at Rudy Revs. Front 10 for Rudy. So here we go. Rudy Kazamakis on the front 10 at the PBA LBC National Championships, looking for number 11. Gets it done, and he doesn't have a huge score to beat for that senior classic lead right now. That was set by Dan Higgins this past Sunday at 13.56, a plus 156 total, and Rudy Rebs can get himself to plus 100 on this shot. There you see Rudy waiting for Bill Fabian to throw his shot in the 10th. Bill Fabian, great proprietor, great host of the PBA Regional Tour for the Midwest. And let's see what Rudy can do here. That's the big trophy everybody's shooting for with the Duke. Will we see our 6 300 of this event? Comes up high. Not the prettiest of strikes for Rudy Rebs, but he gets it done and starts his 6-game qualifying block off with a perfect game. Way to go, Rudy. So your players, after the first game, they're going to skip a pair, land on the second. So the players you see here on 19 and 20, they're going to move to 23 and 24. 21 and 22 moves to 25 and 26, and so on. So if you're watching a player on your second screen on 29 and 30, they're moving to 3 and 4. 31, 32 is moving to 5 and 6. Pardon me. 29 and 30 is moving to 33 and 34. 31, 32 is moving to 3 and 4. So skip a pair, land on the second if you're following somebody through all 6 games of their qualifying block here from Bolero Mount Prospect. So player movement, game 2 coming up next for this special PBA 50 infused squad on a Friday afternoon at the PBA LBC National Championships.
Better once I saw your text.
So we'll have our 300 player, Rudy Revs. Starting things off. We're on 23 and 24, looking to keep the string going. He's got himself a mini Duke with that 300 game. And no shocker there. Rudy Revs starts with a strike. Take the string out to 13. Longest string we've had here this year. Wyatt Griffin on that special Tuesday night PBA Junior squad we had a few weeks back. Had 28 in a row, but that was games 2, 3. For that back-to-back 300. So we'll stick with this pair until Rudy stops striking. Big score for Tom Hess as well. Tom Hess starting with 268 his opening game. Try to find some other big scores from game one and follow them around shortly once these strike strings end. Not having a huge start isn't the worst thing in the world. As we talked about with Mr. Garrett, I mean, 233 is not exactly a terrible start. But then when you back it up with 300, 300, makes it all better. Tom Hess, once again, another solid year on the PBA 50 tour. And a lot of these players are going to be bowling an event this weekend nearby, PBA Midwest Region event. At nearby Beverly Lanes. And we are here with Jim Cowell.
Okay.
Jim, PBA, seen you a lot, PBA Midwest Regionals and such over the years, and you're one of the sponsors of the PBA Regional that's being held nearby today. We're going to see a lot of these PBA50 guys that are bowling this afternoon. We'll see them tonight. So it's the Les Zykes PBA50, PBA60 Midwest Central Doubles, presented by Jim Cowell Enterprises. So what's the enterprise?
So we actually, I came out of retirement. We opened up Belandi Construction, the roofing company,
Okay.
April 2nd, and talk about the perfect storm. May 15th, that big hailstorm came through with the microburst, and that business is thriving. So haven't spent a lot of time bowling, but I've been following the guys out there, so doing good.
Yeah, good to hear, and appreciate you sponsoring that event. Nice prize for the event. Somebody said it's paying $5,000 for first for the doubles.
Yeah,
that's pretty good for
yeah.
two days worth of work. A couple of guys splitting $5,000. So, who's your partner this weekend?
Mark McQueen, my original partner. Derek England had surgery, couldn't bowl, so I got a lefty in there.
Any advantage over at Beverly Lanes with having a lefty?
No, it's going to be equal across the lanes. But he's an amateur, so this is his first tournament as a pro, so I'm excited for him. He's a friend of mine, so we're there to have fun.
Yeah, and there are some big names on that. Like I said, a lot of the guys you see here bowling right now, you're going to see there this weekend, including Randy Weiss and Tom Hess and Parker Bone III. It's got to feel pretty good to get the support from these tour guys. I mean, they just got done with a big event at South Shore Bowl, or the South Shore Open at Hammond, at Olympia Lanes, and now
right in between Columbus and Jackson.
Yeah, a lot of the 60 guys got to go right to Columbus to start bowling at PBA 60 World Series of Bowling. So, it's nice that another great event that's being held by the Zykes family, Hall of Famers in their own right.
They do a lot for bowling in Illinois, but this regional is basically is a national stock.
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's just one of those things, because I was talking off air between games, and you go like, you could have covered that one. I'm like, I don't have the equipment. I don't have everything. I got everything here, and I got everything in Milwaukee, so I'd love to. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's nice that the PBA lets me pick up some regionals and Bowl TV as well, because Bowl TV is the digital content main outlet for the PBA. So I got to get the rights from them. And hey, who knows? Maybe next year. I mean, it always seems to be right if we're back here at Mount Prospect, and who knows?
Yeah,
I got enough good people that can help me out.
We got some superstars out here. I mean, Ryan Barnes is out here bowling today. Nate Purchase is here. I think he was
let's go down since Rudy stopped striking after that 300. Yeah, he got the first one, and then he went through the nose for a 369.10 he picked up. So there you see Ryan Barnes getting ready to step up on lane 6. Ho-hum, just a 258 to start for the better Barnes. He's not the best Barnes. The best Barnes is at home in Texas with Linda. So
I was talking to Ryan this morning over at Beverly, and I was like, I've been watching you all year. I think you're better than your dad was at your age. and he's like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. But you see that? God, he's amazing.
Yeah. And for a young man who bowled but didn't take it super serious until the pandemic, what he's done in 5 years is just incredible for the talent build. I mean, making Junior Team USA in 2022, and just wow.
Yeah, it's the guy's got the total package, man.
Yeah.
I mean, two-hander. I think he could probably throw one hand the same way.
Pretty close. And then it's just one of those things where it's just like, I don't care if you're a member of the Weber family or the Barnes family or anybody's family. You got to put in the hard work to get good at bowling. The genetics might have a little something to do with it, but I mean, Ryan Barnes is one of those kids that just, okay, free time, let's go practice, let's go get better. Same thing with Pete Weber when he was younger too. So, hey, let's practice, let's get better.
Little Brad Snell just left a bad shot over there.
Is Brad a super duper senior?
He is.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's
super duper.
I think he's in his 60s.
I know he's in his. Okay, I thought he was getting close to being the super duper.
I'm getting there, 67.
Okay.
So 3 more years.
You guys are all looking good for. It's got to be bowling that has something to do with that. So with the guys in the 60s looking like they're in their 50s, then you get guys in their 50s that.
We need.
They're in their 40s. Then you got Parker Bone, who just never ages. So.
I've crossed with him more than a few times, but every time I cross with him, he is lights out.
Yeah.
No matter where he throws the ball, he just lights out. So He actually did some coaching on Zoom calls with my partner.
Yeah.
I hooked him up, and then he went out and got new equipment. He went out and shot 859.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then he went out. He actually flew out to Las Vegas to watch the guys bowl out there. So,
how cool is that got to be for Isai Reyes right here? Hey, guess what? You walk in today, you're just bowling with the guy. It's probably going to be PBA Tour Rookie of the Year. I mean, that vote should be a no-brainer for everybody that's got to vote in that one. And then you're bowling with the guy who's won majors on the PBA50 Tour, Michael Hagen Jr., and was a previous Player of the Year.
Yeah, Michael. Another lefty.
Hagen touched it,
it didn't
and
go
just
down.
Wiggled.
It didn't go anywhere. I saw that. That's crazy.
You could give him 1,000 to 1 that he could never do that again. Yeah, you'd be rich. Like, yeah, I'll pay you $1,000 if you can actually do that again, and just against his dollar, and then just give him 1,000 shots at it. You'd never be able to do that again.
You see that strike Toby got? The 10 pin was just sitting there, and then
No,
all of a sudden,
I missed it.
gone. Senior break.
Yeah. Let's take a peek over on Toby's pair here and the pair next door, because there's Chad Rock-Tichel. Out there, there's Jeremy Wolf trying to take that 10 pin down. Toby Contreras, man, how he finds time to bowl between all the. He's running the regional too, right?
Yes.
So he's running those. So you guys have practiced this morning. Get over here.
Yep.
Get this done. Then as soon as he's done, he's got to head back over to Beverly Lanes to get ready for the Pro-Am tonight. And then he's got to run that all weekend. Do you know if he's having his Pearson squad this week? I mean, usually he has a Pearson squad
Right.
piled on top of this. Maybe he had to push it out till August or something.
Yeah, and my girlfriend's on her way back from Virginia. She'll be here tomorrow to watch us bowl over there, but
Okay.
I'm going to get home, get some roses on the counter before she gets there. She may be listening right now. I don't know.
She could be. So, well, hey, I just want to thank you for spending a couple minutes in the booth with us talking about the regional this weekend. Bummed we don't have any coverage for it, but you can follow it on PBA.com. You can always go to that regional tab, and they'll have the statistics updated after every round, and you'll see what PBA Tour stars take down the title this weekend. It's a fun format. And if you're anywhere near Beverly Lanes,
come on in.
it's what, 15 minutes from here?
I'm looking to be in the finals. Yeah, I got a lefty partner. We're looking good, and we're going to put out a few more tournaments too. So
good to hear. Good to hear. So,
all right,
Jim, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Let's check in here with John Burkett. 234 opening game, now on the front six. Or pardon me, he's on a six-bagger after an opening spare. Looking for 7 in a row. Gets it done. All right. Bill Froberger, defending champion, not off to a good start. 188 for his opening game, and he's got it double but offset by an open halfway through game 2. So we're probably going to have a new senior classic champion. We've only had one repeat champion in all our divisions for the first 2 years of the event. That being, of course, the GOAT, Liz Johnson, in the women's classic division. She's averaged over 250 in her 12 games. of PBA LBC National Championships competition over 2 years. Ho hum. And Chris Barnes, after a 247 start, looking to putt 235 on the board. Special shout out to the man on lane 12, Jeff Johnson. Jeff putting this squad together for all the PBA 50 tour players. So a special shout out to Jeff, prior to 4 seasons, Bowling Center in Freeport, Illinois. Great tournament he runs out there just after New Year's every year with the King Classic in honor of Richie Buss, great PBA regional player back in the day here in the Midwest. Good friend of a lot of players that are bowling in this event today. So King Classic's always a great event to catch or bowl in. We had Sean Rash in that event in the stepladder finals last year. Eric Pollock took down the title. And Burkett, telling you what, taking as much of the lane pattern on a play as possible. He's just going point A to point B with something that's not really aggressive as Barnes gets that interference on the messenger on the way back, but still 234 plus 81 for Barnes' first 2. He's passing that Dan Higgins score. There's going to be a lot of other players on this squad that can be getting in the way. And let's see what Burkett can do here. Burkett, if he can put 290 on the board. We'll get back here for Burkett as we'll check in on Rudy Revs. Revs keeping the score sheet clean, but no doubles so far after that opening 300. And John Janowitz, after opening with 248, he's got a 3-bagger, but that first frame opens, giving him a few pins to go back. Tom Hess having another solid game after a 268 opening effort. We'll stay here for Hess's toss in the 7th before going back over to catch up with Burkett. Going for 290. And Hess has him rolling well to this point today. Derek Askin, approaches seem fine. There's a lot less humidity here in the Chicagoland area today. Yeah, I don't see anybody on the low end where people were saying they were a bit tacky. Nobody's got slide socks on or anything like that down on the low end. So I'd say just be prepared for a good day of bowling tomorrow, Derek. And we'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Stop by the booth, say hi again. Burkett, chance for the 290. And Jantra stopped by as well when you bowl at 2 o'clock. Yeah, it's a sold-out weekend pretty much. There were 1 or 2 late drops on this squad. So 279 with the cover here for Burkett. I wonder what happened. Dan Knowlton, looks like his score changed to an absence, so hopefully nothing serious for Knowlton. There you go. 279. Let's see if Revs can find where he left his striking shoes. He had smoke coming off of him in game one. As nothing but strikes for Rudy Revs, and now a little bit of a break taking the 4 out of that leave, but still yet the strike since frame number 1 this game. It's got to be a little frustrating for Rudy. You go from having everything to not having much. He's leaving himself easy makeables, though. Let's see what the man from Iowa can do here. Keep the strike string going. 5 in a row for Hess. 279 max possible. And he could be looking at being 140 over for his first 2. Kuhlman finished in second last year. Had a couple bad breaks late in game 6 that kept him behind Billy Froberg. Kuhlman had a slow start last year and then started piling some big scores on, and yeah, just a couple of pins that could have fell the other way. Could have gotten Kuhlman into the lead in Senior Classic instead of leaving Froberg there. But now with Hess right on that pair. Kuhlman knows what he's going to have to most likely shoot for to try to get in the lead on this squad. There is no stopping Tom Hess at the moment. I think the only way Hess doesn't shoot 279 this game is if he ties his own shoelaces together before he steps up in the 10th frame. The timing looks spectacular. And he had a good week at the South Shore Open. Actually, yesterday at the South Shore Open, it was Hess versus Rudy Revs in the round of 16. Tough match as Tom Hess lost 2 games to 1. It was head-to-head match play. Not total pins, but Tom had 756 for his 3 games in the match against Rudy Revs and lost 2 games to 1. It's one of those that can be a little tough to take, but you can see right now Tom not worrying about the past. He's just focusing on what he can do now. And it should be interesting to see if Hess tries another ball on the fill shot. If he gets the first 1 or first 2 in the 10th. First one, maybe leave a 10-pin, sacrifice the pin for a look at another piece of equipment, because you know this 42-foot LBC National Championships pattern is always going to transition. And I threw full booth black cloud. Yeah, his shoelaces were not tied together, but that one was definitely a little quick out of the mitt. Let's see if he can hook across. Get them all to go down that way. Probably not going to try to sacrifice too many pins here. I mean, you can shoot for the conventional 2-4-8, pick it up that way, and just leave the 10. Just get your pins and go. Or is he going to try to go across the face? Well, he went across the face a little bit, not quite enough. But still sitting at plus 109 for 2. A 509 total for Tom Hess. John Janowitz could get near Hess's total. And look here on the rest of the bowling center. Other than Rudy Rebs, it looks like we're only going to have a couple players flirting with that 500 number. After 2. So your player movement between Game 2 and Game 3 for these players you see here on 23 and 24. They're going to skip 2 pairs, land on the 3rd, so they'll be on 29 and 30. Hess and Company will go to 31 and 32. So skip 2, land on the 3rd for players between Games 2 and 3. Player movement. And we'll stick with the hot hands here in the main feed. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them as quick as we can. Game 3 coming up next for the special 1 p.m. squad locally here at Bolero Mount Prospect. A lot of PBA50 tour players and tour stars on this squad. From Bolero Mount Prospect and the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships enters its 5th of 7 weekends of competition. Are you kidding me? That was almost a pocket 9-10 for Rudy. Look at it. He's shaking his head on the way back. He can't believe he almost left that with an entry angle. I remember seeing Bob Learn leave that once on a PBA tour event back quite a while ago. Sometimes you get such an entry angle on a ball. So we've got Tom Hess at least plus 100. Rudy Rebs need this one to be at that plus 100 after 2, that magical 250 average. And John Janowitz, if Janowitz strikes out, that'll be at plus 80. He'll still be in striking range. But it is a 6-game total pin block. Odds are that 15-23 in the Open Classic division. Set by Weston Griffin a couple Tuesdays back. That's going to be a tough one to touch. But the 13.56 from Senior Classic division leader Dan Higgins, yeah, that one's definitely up for grabs on this squad. Well, there's a few of our pairs getting down to business right away after they make the turn. We've already got Barnes, Haugen and company already in frame number 6. And Barnes of the Ryan variety, plus 105 after 2. And looking to keep piling pins on. here in Game 3 of this special 1 p.m. Friday squad in conjunction with the PBA50 Tour. We'll take a look at a couple of players we haven't looked at much of today that are having either good days or good careers in the case of one Hall of Famer, Parker Bone III. We'll take a peek in on Parker once they're underway. Haugen light, 248.10. Parker plus 63 after 2. High on his pairing, and that one goes high for Parker. Craig Keith, you see, trying to pick up a 6'10" this frame. 513 plus 113 for the local bowler. His twin sons and his daughter, solid players in their own right as well. All like great collegiate careers, and wow. The chop for Craig Keith leaves a little blemish. On the scorecard. Once again, all these pairs for viewing available to you for free on the PBA YouTube channel, not just today, but all weekend long, all the way through the end of this tournament. And now joining me in the booth, Rogue Foppy. And Rogue, you've had the chance to see a few of the players in the center here on this PBA 50 squad. I think the lower rev rates on these 50 players, and kind of whether they know where everybody all plays, is kind of helping with having several plus 100 totals after the first 2 games.
Definitely. I think it's helping out minimize the transition as well.
And you see I see a few players in urethane. That looked like a urethane move for that bowling ball right there for Zika, but sometimes we've seen on this 42-foot pattern, urethane kind of goes away pretty quick, even with moving pairs, even if nobody else has thrown it before, just because of the volume of the pattern's kind of high. But then urethane, obviously low flaring, it's really gonna pump that oil down the lane.
And this house is notorious for 10 pins, corner pins even, not even just 10 pins.
Yeah, we saw it there for Zika. You see the blower 7 he left. Now Parker's looking at a 6-8-10. Let's go up and see how a couple of players that are in that 500 range are doing. One of those being Rudy Revs. Revs will be up momentarily, so let's see if Parker can pick this tough one up. For those of you curious for your youth players on the Parker Bone III Scholarship Tournament, the 26th annual this year, will be taking place September 19th, 20th, and 21st at Howell Lanes in Howell, New Jersey. Keep an eye on the socials about that PB3 Scholarship Tournament. Lots of money that these young players will be awarded, and that did not miss by much. So Rudy Revs, 300, 207 for his opening 2 games. Even I can do that math for the plus 107. I always like watching Ricky Schisler because he's one of the first PBA 50 players other than Walter A. Williams Jr. to start trying to bowl two-handed, and then Ricky's gone to full-time two-handed. Bill Fabian. Oh, you almost rolled the head pin and the 2-pin, but you stand with Bill. I've only known him for a couple of years now since he started bowling in the PBA Midwest region after retiring as a doctor and then purchasing a bowling center in his hometown of Ripon, Wisconsin. And yeah, you know if Bill's throwing it good, you know if Bill's throwing it bad, you know exactly where you stand with Bill. And you just saw the head just go, oh, as soon as that ball got to the arrows.
It's always my favorite. Everyone goes, how can you tell if they threw a bad ball or not? 9 times out of 10, facial reaction, or you see just the head go back.
Hey, when's the last time you've seen a 3-4, Rogue? Because now Rudy Rebs just left one.
Actually, I have an even weirder leave. On Tuesday night, one of my buddies left the 5, 6, 7, 10
5, 6, 7, 10
on a light pocket shot.
Left-hander?
No, righty.
Okay, where did the ball go?
I wasn't paying attention. I saw it on the lovely Facebook page. That's the greater shots that are 4 or less.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, how did you manage that one?
Right, I could see a lefty maybe hitting light and doing that, but not a right-hander.
I was like, wow, the lanes really don't like you today.
Yeah. I'm sure Rudy's shot at this a few times in his career with his big bending hook on the end. Let's check in on Chris Barnes. That's another. I'm sorry, Tom Hess. We'll check in on Chris Barnes as well shortly. As Hess strike open strike, Hess to plus 109 after his first 2 games.
When I was down there, it looked like he was throwing the new Ion Pro Solid.
Yeah, you see a lot of the guys. John Burkett's been throwing it pretty well too. We'll check in. I think Burkett and Barnes are right next to each other.
Oh, he switched.
So
So
I switched balls.
I saw burgundy on it. Looked like an intention star.
Yeah. Don't carry for me. No, please don't. Let's check in. We should have Barnes on this pair. Yep, there we go. Barnes is your scoreboard over lane 20. 481 for Barnes' first 2. Barnes clean with a double. Through 6, still a chance to pop off. A 249 game if he can go all the way off the sheet. At 55 years old and just still making it happen. Won last night at Olympia Lanes in Hammond. I believe that's his 5th PBA 50 title. And apparently the pep talk I had with John Burkett's worked. So if we'll stick here with Burkett. If he gets number 8 in a row, Rogue, we're going to rip that headset off you and throw a camera over your shoulder.
Be on my way.
Get you down lane. So all those extra bonus shots you've been seeing in our coverage over the last few weekends, that's all courtesy of Rogue Foppy. So she's available for hire when I'm not working her to death here. So if you need somebody that knows the sport of bowling in more ways than one, former pro shop manager, bowling media person, she can handle anything in your bowling center for you pretty much. Mechanic.
Yeah.
She's worked on these A2 pin setters in her past.
I pretty much know every side of a bowling alley.
Yeah, so there you go. Rogue.foppy@gmail.com. I don't know. I just made it. If we say it on air, is it like television where you have to buy the domain name after you use it on TV? Oh, and then we get down to Burkett. Wow, I'm turning and burning on guys today. This is not good. It doesn't make me feel any better about myself. Jump in on another player. Hey, he's on a front bunch. Let's just end that. At least it didn't work on Rudy Revs. So Burkett here, most likely just taking 1.
Oh, Ryan's at 5:05 after 3.
Yeah, we'll get down to the finish of his game here shortly. He's on 11 and 12, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 11 and 12. If Burkett gets a lucky break, we'll pull it out of the archives. If he bounces one out. As Ryan Barnes can't get the lucky trip in the last one, but still pacing pretty well. 236 isn't going to hurt the chances to try to get past EJ Tackett. It's plus 141. Tackett ended up at plus 250, so you double 141, that's 282. That'd be a new leader.
These back ends are seeming very crisp today.
Oh, once again, you get a little cooler day. I mean, last weekend here in the Chicagoland area, I mean, anybody who was in the eastern
You were
half of this
basically in
country.
Baton Rouge last weekend. It was basically Baton Rouge weather.
Yeah, anywhere east of the Mississippi, for sure. So a little cooler, a little tamer here today, and temperature affects not just the approaches, but affects how the oil moves. All that fun stuff.
This is why I say bowling's a winter sport, man.
Hey, we got someone from Sweden dropping in the chat. Robin, good to see you back again from South Africa. Good to see the international viewers popping in, seeing some of the PBA 50's big names out here. Uh-oh, Deucey's in the chat. Watch out.
Oh, Ducey.
Hey, Brian, how's it going? Little dog tags bowling in the chat. I think they got a 9-pin tap tournament coming up somewhere sometime soon, don't they?
Next month,
Yeah.
they have it at Liberty.
Liberty Lanes here in Carpentersville, the Chicagoland area. So
I want to say it's the 12th.
yeah, if you want to check out Dog Tags Bowling on Facebook, they'll have all that information for you there, and they do a lot with veterans. I mean, obviously, Bowlers of Veterans Link, the PBA does a lot with as well, but there's some good men out there as well, like Brian Ducey, that do even more for our veterans with the sport of bowling. All right, let's see what Burkett can do there. Apologies for cutting away from Hagen's spare. Michael Hagen missing 6 pins doesn't happen very often.
This is why bowling's such a great sport. There's so many different organizations supporting everyone.
So Burkett, 5-13 after 2, can get to 268 still this game. Still got that same, but what's the ball in Burkett's hand there? You're the color commentator. You're the ball expert.
Red. That's a red ball. I'm going to take a guess and either say IQ 78. No, yeah, IQ 78U or IQ Ruby. That looked like a 78. Let me see it come out of the ball return. That is not either of those.
Okay. We may have to get you taking a run down and taking a peek at whatever bowling ball that might be for
That
Burkett.
looks like an Origin EX. Yep,
So
that is
that
an
a
Origin EX.
Newer ball from one of the...
That is the newer big ASIM from 900 Global.
Okay.
It is one of the few rarities of where you have an ASIM, but in my opinion, rolls like a symmetrical. Very smooth roll, very controlled.
Yeah.
Beautiful ball motion out of it.
John and I were talking. He was getting a little intel out of me, and I'm always happy to share it. It's not great intel, trust me. I'm not the one that, I'm watching a lot of bowling, but nothing really sticks into my brain. I got a mind like a spider web. It's got a lot of holes in it, but it manages to attach onto things every once in a while. I was just telling him about the young man, Mr. Griffin, that bowled. Weston Griffin, where he was using IQ Ruby, and this is where he was playing. And I showed him a little bit of the video. He goes, "Okay, fine." That's one thing that's great here with the LBC National Championships. You can check out, like, if you know somebody that's got a similar style as you, or you just want to see the general goings on, you can go back and watch any of the squads for free. If you got a buddy of yours that bowled and you know how he plays the lanes or she plays the lanes, and you watch how they bowl, and then all of a sudden, okay, well, maybe if I'm on this pair, here's where I might be, and here's a good idea where I could go. And so that's another great reason to have these live streams. It's great for checking out what's going on and seeing maybe if you can get a little intel for yourself. Head pin goes to the sideboard and doesn't come out of the flat gutter for Burkett. But still, he'll be in the 240s. Once again, another player pacing quite well on this special 1 p.m. squad. Dress code's pretty relaxed. So you see some players here in shorts. You see some players here in mock jerseys like Gary Allstott. There you go. Perfect dress code. So you can be a little more casual than you'd have to be at a PBA event. We give everybody the PBA tour type feel. You walk in, you check in the tournament office, you get your lane assignments. You have to record your bowling ball serial numbers just like the PBA and PBA50 pros do when they're bowling an event. So lots of, we want people to experience what the PBA is like without putting those tournament patterns out there for them. Obviously, a lot tougher on the PBA Tour, PBA50 Tour than they are for this LBC National Championships pattern. Fair but playable.
And a lot
Not your
less
house
games.
shot. Yeah, you're only getting 6 games in. So, and you only get to try once a year. Once your 6 games are done, boom, that's it. And I know on this squad there's a lot of these players. If you had John Burkett as a doubles partner, that's a pretty good start because Burkett's going to be in the plus 160 range. For the optional doubles, it's $25 per player. It has to be paid before the first person bowls on that doubles team. But you count your first 3 games towards your doubles, and then you can put 4-player teams together. Once again, $25 per player, and that entry fee has to be paid before the first person bowls in the event. Is your games 4, 5, and 6 for that 4-player team. And they don't have to be on the same squad. Some of these players might be bowling with Sean. I saw John Burkett talking to Sean Lavery Spar earlier. Sean's bowling tomorrow at 9 a.m., so Sean and John can be doubles partners. It's a wonderful,
Or you could have
thing.
someone week 1 bowl someone in week 7.
Right. We have a few of those out there. I know a couple players that sign up to bowl with Bill O'Neill as their doubles partner. Because you can have anybody as your doubles partner. You could have E.J. Tackett last week. Any player that's bowling this event can be your doubles partner. You just have to pay the entry fee if you're bowling before the other person is. You might not get your other half of your entry fee back if you're bowling with Bill O'Neill because they cut the check to each of you. But, hey, you could say I won money with Bill O'Neill. I think that's worth the $25 right there. I definitely use that myself. So we've got player movement between games 4 and 5. They're skipping a pair, landing on the second. So these players that you see here on 17 and 18 in game 3, they're moving over to 21 and 22. And we're reaching the halfway point of this special squad for the PBA LBC National Championships. A lot of PBA50 Tour players on the squad. A couple of PBA exempt Tour young guns with Ryan Barnes and Nate Purchase. We'll check in on Purchase during game 4, see where he's at. We'll check in a little bit more with Ryan Barnes as well. But once again, we've got some hot hands bowling on this squad. We've got some players that are just getting into their 6th frame, so we'll get rid of that graphic. And Rudy Rev's running into some problems. Yikes, back-to-back opens. Frames 2, 3, 4 for the man who started with a perfect game. Let's see if Revs can turn it into a 3-bagger here. Fabian just gets that one to rock. Gave up bowling for basically 30 years. He bowled in college at the University of La Crosse. Mike Shady was one of his teammates, if everybody remembers that PBA Tour champion. And a great coach nowadays. And when Bill retired from being a cardiologist, retired from the practice, bought Plaza Bowl up in Ripon, Wisconsin, and now has been committing a lot of time to the PBA50 National Tour, a lot of PBA50 regional events, and that's one of the best parts about the PBA50 Tour. There's guys like John Janowitz, there's guys like Bill Fabian that just didn't have the opportunity to be a tour player while their careers were going on, and now they are getting that chance. Ron Moore, another great Hall of Famer, who we got to see this weekend at the South Shore Open. Ron Moore, another player, got his PBA card after he turned 50 and turned that into a Hall of Fame career. John Janowitz already with enough titles to get into the Hall of Fame, just needs to be a PBA 50 member for 8 years before he'd be eligible to be inducted. Twinkle Toes Auerbach, I like that one. Oh, geez, come on. How did they stand against the might of John Janowitz? Don't they know who he is?
Something didn't want to come out of the pit and help out, knock it out. Undeserved. Very undeserved.
Fully agree.
What do you think hurts the soul more, a pocket 710 or a pocket 8 or a pocket 9?
Pocket 8, because you know you threw it a lot better. Because the pocket 710, you know the ball's losing energy too soon when it's getting into the pocket. In most cases, there's some rarities where I've seen wrap 10s with a smash 7 and that type of thing, but that's so rare. But you know, that shot there from John Janowitz, he knows something with the ball motion wasn't quite right. Bounce it. No. So we almost had a 710 make. Charlie Heinzelman last weekend, he put it on his Facebook page. That's another great thing with the live streams as well, is that you can go back, watch it yourself. Hey, if you post a good shot you had or a lucky split conversion or that kind of thing, hey, we love when people share these YouTube feeds that way.
That's what I did my first year. Go back on my social medias, you can see me pulling videos from the YouTube feeds.
Always good to see Todd Chell in the Burger jersey. Man, who owns a Culver's franchise in Belvedere. All right, Revs is bouncing back. Whatever adjustment he made. We were away, so I'm assuming it's a ball change that he made.
I think he made a ball change when I was down there. Good shot by Jenny there.
I wonder if she's bowling that PWBA 10th anniversary tournament up in Green Bay. That's a close to home one for her. Oh, let's see. Chris Barnes this game. Hold on, he's not on this. Hess is on this pair. Barnes is farther down. Hess having some struggles this game. He's going to be, oosh, 183, if my math is correct.
If he strikes out, it is a 183.
So that's going to bring Tom back to the field. And he's going to have to make the flip down to the low end as the players on Hess's pair coming off of 33 and 34 this game. They're just moving next door. Pardon me, 31-32. They're skipping a pair landing on the second, so they're going down to 3 and 4 this game. They're making the flip. Same thing with the players next door.
That was a great shot by Tom Hess. Speaking of pocket 9.
Yeah. Blah. We got some pairs getting into game 4 already. So we're finishing off game 3 here. So we're going to let these players finish. As we said, players are skipping a pair landing on the second for their movement. So these players on Tom Hess's grouping, they're going to be going down to 3 and 4. And we'll get some updated 3-game totals. We'll follow those hot hands. That's right, Jason. You reminded me in the chat we were talking about the team event. Yeah, Denny. Get on League Pals, pay for it the opening weekend of the tournament. Make sure you get your pros in with you, and then that way you come down. And, yeah, it was an amateur with in the handicap division, if I remember correctly, as well. So the bowlers get to use their handicap if they're in the men's or women's handicap divisions. And you got to use the professionals games, and, yeah, they took home the 4-player team title. Always good to have that option. Always good to have that side action. Thanks to our friends at League Pals putting that together for our doubles and 4-player team optional events. Game 4 coming up next. All right, we've got some players partway through game 4. Rotation a little off right now. Some players hitting the lanes a little quicker than others right now. John Burkett, as you see there, plus 158 for his first 3 games, and now rapidly coming back to the field here on 21-22 as he has 3 consecutive opens and almost guaranteed a 4th there, but broke up the split. So Burkett coming back to the field. So while Burkett tries to right the ship, Tom Adcock, who hasn't had the greatest starts today. Adcock just plus 43 on the front 4. Jeff Johnson just 25 over coming into this game. Johnson also on the front 4. Finding some players, and that's been the key, it seems, this entire LBC National Championships existence. Find the one game that doesn't take you from having a great day down to having just a really good day. You know, we're seeing John Burkett right in the middle of that right now. Boy, if Burkett could punch out and get the 222, that could be the game saver for sure. The day saver for Burkett. Because even though there's a lot of big names on this squad, and we're probably going to have the day ended with a new leader in the Senior Classic division with all these PBA 50 Tour players on the squad. There's still going to be some good senior bowlers coming in the last 2.5 weekends of this event. We've got 4 squads remaining this weekend. This is by far the biggest weekend of the LBC National Championships, as we have 3 squads tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 p.m. Eastern. Take an hour off those times if you're here at Bolero Mount Prospect. And Sunday, our normal squad time, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. And I want to thank the PBA this weekend, as we are going to have a main feed on all 5 squads this weekend. So there's some good bowlers that will be coming in as well. We'll have some additional PBA exempt players. Let's check in on one of them right now that's bowling this squad with Nate Purchase. Purchase on 25 and 26. 2 spares and a strike to start his game. He's only 45 over for 3, so he's not really threatening the PBA exempt division lead. That's the 1450 by EJ Tackett. But a player that's threatening the senior classic division lead, there you see Chris Barnes. He'll be stepping up, looking to get 5 in a row. Bounce back off the second frame open with a 4-bagger. Barnes at plus 117 for his first 3 games. And we'll check in on Ryan Barnes as well, as Barnes of the Ryan variety on pace to take down the PBA exempt lead from EJ Tackett. That one went a little long on Barnes. Can't quite get the 2 to roll out. Over to Ryan Barnes. And Barnes an opening double, but keeping it clean since then. Barnes would need to shoot 7-10 for his last 3. Wow, there's a huge break there for Ryan on that high hit. Ryan Barnes needs 7-10 to get past EJ Tackett. And our fearless leader, Toby Contreras, unfortunately not having a good day. Toby, a couple years back, had his LBC National Championship squad in conjunction with Jeff Johnson. And then the next day, almost took down the Peterson title. Ended up finishing in the top 3 that year, did it, Toby Contreras. So and don't forget about that sister tournament to this PBA LBC National Championships with the Peterson Classic. That's over at Bolero Vernon Hills, about a 20-minute drive northeast of Bolero Mount Prospect. We'll stick here with Ryan Barnes for this shot, but then we're going to get back down to 21 and 22 as we've got a couple of players on that pair with John Burkett. Burkett trying to bounce back, but a couple of players on the front 7 with Tom Adcock and Jeff Johnson. And Barnes makes him vaporize. No evidence left. Over to Adcock, over to Johnson. As Burkett, yikes. And the bleeding continues for Burkett. And he'll be sub 200 this game. Coming back a bit to that senior classic field. How about a bounce? Oh, a little tease. So now 184 the maximum. For Burkett. Let's see what Adcock and Johnson of the Jeff variety can do here. They both get their 8th in a row. Adcock can't roll the 2-8 out. Leaves just the 2. And Jeff Johnson keeps it going. Hey, we've already given away 1 mini Duke on this squad. Let's give away another one. The bestest, most awesomest bowling award for perfection, the Mini Duke, possible on 21 and 22, still for Jeff Johnson, as he'll be entering his 9th frame. This is just a heartbreak of a game for Burkett. After starting out averaging over 252, needs to punch to get to 184. He'll still be in shooting range of that leading 1356 of Dan Higgins, obviously. But you just want to pile on as many pins as you can. Let people think about what you shot when they walk in the door. I know there's a lot of people in that Open Classic division looking up and they see that Weston Griffin 1523 and think, yeah, that's a lot. Get them thinking about it before they walk in the door. That helps you out when you're no longer in the building. Leave that ghost of your score behind. Johnson of the Jeff variety, looking for the nifty 9th in a row. Come on, Jeff. Oh, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? Welcome to Bolero Mount Prospect. Today's special, 9 pins at particularly terrible times on your score sheet. We do take MasterCard, Visa, and Discover for payment of that experience. Yeah. All right, so still 279 out there for Johnson. Let's take a peek back at Chris Barnes. As Barnes going to be in the 220s. So keeps it clean, and he'll pass Burkett for the lead on the squad at the moment. There you saw the toss from Burkett. As Burkett trying to get to $180. Purchase trying to come back, but he's 80 behind Ryan Barnes for that PBA exempt spot. Let's say Burkett can punch the last 2 here, save $180 out of a disaster. I mean, 52 in the 4th is just nothing but ugly. Ryan Barnes, he's already in the clubhouse game 4 with 232. So that's plus 173. So a couple of 230 games. We'll get him in range, but obviously Ryan Barnes is going to be looking to pile on as many pins the last 2 to try to get past DJ Tackett. Ryan Barnes will need to be 78 over for his last two to get past Tackett. So 239, 239, that would work. That's 78. And joining me in the booth, as always, it's good to hear from this man because he sees all, knows all that happens here at the PBA LBC National Championships. Our tournament director and tournament manager, Neil Streml. And Neil, not surprising that these PBA 50 players, a few of them have found a way to whack them early, put up some big numbers early, but now it looks like the transition's really starting to happen, and it fooled guys like John Burkett. Burkett with a 184 only that game.
Yeah, these guys have been bowling a lot lately, and they are, you know, they got soft hands right now. Everything feels good and easy for most of them, and so they get on this condition, which is going to be, you know, a little bit easier for them than they are used to. They've been bowling on like 3 or 4 to 1, and now this is closer to 5 to 1, and so this is just going to feel easy for them right now.
Yeah, I just wonder sometimes if they're anticipating moves that would work on the PBA 50 tour with a little bit less in volume in some of the patterns and a little bit less ratio inside to out. But all of a sudden, they make a 50 tour move, and all of a sudden, that left a 2-pin or that went high, and then we've seen a couple of players you saw with Tom Hess in Game 3. Where he had some problems in the early part of the game with transition, ended up with a game in the 180s, and we see that now with John Burkett with 3 opens, frames 2, 3, 4, and same thing for Burkett.
Yeah, it's tough to be sure. Yeah, if they're used to making a certain move at a certain time, and this is going to have more oil in the middle than they're used to. I mean, they're smart enough to know that. So I don't know. It's tough call, but if they're trying to make moves that they normally make during their PBA 50 tour, this is just going to, I think, hold up in the middle a little bit longer. And so it's just going to be a little different.
So Hess working on a 5-bagger.
Yeah, so maybe he got it figured out. Would you say he had a 180 something?
Game 3 up on the high end. He was on 31-32, and just early part of the game, he got caught in something And, you make the decision, and all of a sudden if you go to the wrong piece of equipment with a ball change, all of a sudden, you're fighting that, plus where's that ball supposed to go, and then that can get you for 3-4 straight frames, and then you're giving a bunch of pins back.
Yeah, and I see he's got a 678 through 3, so obviously not terrible, but, if you want to be on like a 1,500 pace or something like that,
right.
Little shy of that, but he, a couple of spares, and he had to move all the way down to the low end, which sometimes, that's when people get lost, but sometimes that's when people have an open mind of, I know I'm going to have to make some moves. I got to figure out what's going to be different, and maybe they, they're more prepared to make those changes and let their ball be their guide.
I mean, he's got some good players on his pair, no doubt about it. Randy Weiss finished in a nice spot in the South Shore Open this past week. And yesterday, Lyle Kuhlman made some PBA 50 step ladders in time. And
that's a good pair for sure. Got a few good pairs. Got a lot of players out there. So I was doing announcements, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to announce some VIPs. I'm like, I could announce like 2 people per pair.
Right.
I'd still be talking about who's out there. So we'd have shortened that up from what we normally would do. But a lot of great bowlers out there.
Yeah, Tom Hess with a awfully painful 9-pin on that shot.
Oh yeah.
We've seen a couple of those now. We saw one from Chris Barnesville earlier too. Where it just didn't look like it was the 9-pin slice through, and they ended up leaving it.
Yeah, you usually, you hit pretty flush in the pocket. You leave a 9-pin. You're like, oh, the entry angle is too big. It was probably like 7 degrees, and you just shouldn't get that high. But in this center, we've seen that previous weeks, and now, there aren't a lot of PBA 50 guys that are putting up, 7 degrees entry angle or more, because that's
Right.
a lot. So, yeah, the 9-pin here is, just a skosh high maybe, or, just cutting through the pins a little funny and just not what we're used to.
So 1 mini Duke already today. That was in game 1. That was by Rudy Revs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So made it happen. Followed up with 2-0, and then Rudy ran into some problems in game 3 as well.
Yeah, it's just great to see, somebody. Obviously, there's a lot of great bowlers, a lot of history on this squad, and so just great to see Rudy Revs out there again, and then, starting with a 300 is fantastic.
So we're going to stick on this pair for a frame or two as Jeremy Wolf sitting on the front 7. Hasn't been a great day for Jeremy at this point, just 2 over through his first 3 games. But, hey, we've seen players put tons up in the last 3 and salvage it. They might not salvage a win, but you salvage a check. It's always good to get a little envelope from the PBA once, August rolls around.
Yep.
When they mail out the checks from this event. Always good to see that envelope show up.
Always.
And, of course, with this being the first game of the 4-player optional team event with games 4, 5, and 6, no better way to start off if Jeremy's got himself on a team or 6 with some of these other PBA 50 players. And, wow, slice it through and end the string.
Yeah. Way to jinx him there, Phil. Good job.
I've been apparently black clouding all day, so I'm surprised Rudy Revs didn't trip over his own feet on the 12 shot a little earlier. The way things have been going here in the booth.
Yeah. But that's a good point. It's really, this tournament's really a singles event. You bowl 6 games across 6 pairs, and of course these guys are used to that. But a lot of the people that come out or are watching maybe don't realize all that. And then the optional events. So instead of bowling separate, doubles and team, you optionally can join into doubles and team. And if you team up with somebody in a doubles matchup, you can, pretty much pick anybody who hasn't bowled yet. And games 1, 2, and 3 count towards that doubles score. And then if you pick, a team, a 4-person team, games 4, 5, and 6 count towards that team score. So all 4 of the players, games 4, 5, and 6 are, part of your singles score, but they add into what your team score would be. You can cash as many times as you can cash in doubles or team.
Yeah, just with changing one player on the team roster and just by change, obviously, the other player on your doubles roster.
Yep.
Parker Bowen trying to make a comeback. He's up to plus 85. This game, he really hasn't gotten much together. Mario Quintero on his pair, though. Mario plus 134, quietly creeping his way back up towards the top on this squad. Winner of last year's PBA 50 World Championship at Dave Small's Jack 60.
Yeah, and Arturo's brother, I believe. So, good bowling family there. And somebody to help me, speak my Spanish. I don't get to travel as much as I used to Central and South America and Mexico, etc. So when I see my friends, I wish them buena suerte, good luck.
What's 10 back in Spanish?
Yes, I don't know what back.
Don't
Yes, I'd be making something up, I guess. Which is what I do half the time. One of my new latest ones is mucho apreciato, and I guess that's, instead of Spanglish, that's like stick Spanglish, so mucho apreciato, Mr. Robato.
Yeah, you mentioned Arturo Quintero. Heard he's relocating out of Portland, Maine. I guess another opportunity's popped up. I've heard in Texas. Don't quote me 100% on this, ladies and gentlemen. I just see some Facebook posts that he's sold his pro shop in Portland. And
yeah.
Hey, look at that. Here's a front 9 that we didn't
there's a
see
9
for Brian Schenker in front of us. And
we
ruined another one. Son of a gun.
Yeah, he was one of the last to get into this squad, actually. So that would have been, kind of a good story.
Great way to top it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's not sitting in horrendous position in any way, shape, or form right now after putting up plus 36.
Yeah,
So.
he was literally on the wait list for the squad, and we had a couple WDs or no shows, and he was one that got in. Well, now he's looking at a 279 if he can throw this last strike.
Still back to plus 115 over for 3 games.
Yeah,
for 4 games, not a bad thing. That's on pace. That's on pace for a nice check out of here from the PBA LBC National Championships.
Exactly.
So, hey, Neil will be back in with us tomorrow on all 3 squads in Game 4. So if you have questions about equipment specifications, about the LBC National Championships, about things that you see on the Pro Tour, we can throw those at Neil and see if we can get answers for those from Neil. Most of the time we can. Otherwise, we know where to reference to get certain PBA answers. I mean, we don't know exactly what Jason Belmonte is throwing at home in Australia right now, but, I'm sure there's probably ways to find out.
Something by storm, that's all I know.
Yep. Hey, Neil, thanks for sitting in the booth with us again.
No problem.
We got 2 more games to go on the squad, so Game 5 coming up, and we'll follow some hot hands. We'll get some score updates. And everybody, thanks for joining us today. It's a weekday afternoon. I know it's a little tough to watch if you're at work, but, hey, we're glad you shut the work laptop off early and are joining us on your home laptop for a little bowling.
All right, thanks again.
Neil.
Thank you.
So we'll start with following Ryan Barnes, as he's at plus 173 for his first 4. He's on pace to try to pass E.J. Tackett. Ryan Barnes can average 243.25 for his last 2 games. He'd take that lead from Tackett. Almost converted that 2-8-10 with the reverse hook. And as you see already, Barnes not happy with the ball reaction. He's making that change. Bowlers will always tell you, knowing who you're following when you're moving pairs with transition is always important. And sometimes the guests for players like Ryan Barnes, I'm sure you've seen enough of these players watching his father bowl the last few years on the PBA50 tour, but there's still some players such as, his lane mate here with Isai Reyes. And other local or area players that he might not know well, and then you have to figure out, all right, what have they done to the lanes? How do you think it's going to play? Haugen Jr. plus 96 for his first 4 games. Haugen Jr. definitely one of those players that likes to use the point A to point B method of bowling. And unfortunately for Haugen, he flat 10s on that first shot. We're going to move over here to Craig Auerbach, because Auerbach trying to get his name up near the top of the squad standings. Only plus 40 for his first 3, but a 290 here will get him to plus 130 and have him chasing a few big names ahead of him. And Auerbach gets the second one in the 10th. So, yeah, you kind of figured on this squad with a number of PBA 50 tour players, stars and otherwise, tour grinders. Don't count the tour grinders out. Everybody can get a good week and get their chance at a PBA 50 tour title. And once again, if Auerbach's in any of the optional 4-player team entries, there's a great start for that. Well, it's not a mini Duke going home with Auerbach. You need all 12 for that, but a great game for Craig Auerbach to try to get himself into contention for the Senior Classic division lead. Oh, and Barnes, wow. This is the 3rd player that's had a phenomenal game that gets down in the middle of the house, 17, 18, 19, 20, and is looking at back-to-back-to-back opens. We saw it for Tom Hess. We saw it for Rudy Revs. We saw it for John Burkett. And now we're going to see it for Ryan Barnes. How do you avoid the game that brings you back to the field? Ryan Barnes is finding out about that right now. And we'll see if it's another ball change or what Barnes might be doing to try to right the ship. let's check in on Barnes and Burkett. Barnes at the Chris variety. 3-bagger open strike for Chris Barnes. Burkett still having some struggles like he had in game 4. Still 142 over, but can max out once again in the 220s. 3 opens in his first 5 frames. Just got an update. Rudy Revs making the comeback. Revs just polished off a 280 game in game 4. And Tom Adcock looking to make a big comeback. Some of the 270 game after having the front 8 in game 4, now starting game 5 with the front 6. Let's get back over to Ryan Barnes as he's looking to put a slash or an X on the board instead of a dash, and yikes, that's not exactly a gimme spare. So once again, thanks everybody joining us on a Friday afternoon here in the main feed. You can watch any of your favorite players every shot, not just today, but all weekend long on all those pair feeds available to you on the PBA YouTube page. And once again, free viewing for all. Appreciate everybody that's tuning in, watching Chris Barnes, John Burkett, Tom Hess, Parker Bone III, Rudy Revs had a 300 earlier. All those big names on this special squad as Barnes kicks the 10 out. I think that may officially be the 1,500,000th strike of Chris Barnes' PBA career. Not sure, obviously. Just throwing a fake stat out there, but the man's thrown a lot of strikes over time. I know pre-pandemic we figured out there were only 2 players in PBA history that averaged at least $1 per pinfall on their PBA career. One of those being Chris Barnes, the other was Walter A. Williams Jr. I'm sure E.J. Tackett is approaching that stat nowadays. I mean, you look at the hundreds of thousands of pins they knock down every year, over 300-some games. Well, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but definitely tens of thousands. I mean, you get somebody that bowled 450 games like EJ, averaged almost 230 like EJ. Yeah, that's 103,000 pins. So, could be hundreds of thousands. So we'll stay here for a few minutes as Rudy Revs and company, they haven't even started their first frame yet, so we'll work our way back down. Once again, pacing a little scattered through the center. Some pairs pacing faster than others, and it's always that long walk, too, that people got to catch up from. When you're walking from lane 31 and 32 or 33 and 34 down to 3 and 4. You'll take a few seconds to gather yourself. Let's see if Barnes can stretch it out here, make it 4 in a row. So Adcock front 7. Looking to make a huge charge after a relatively tame start. Other pairs just getting into their first frame. But we'll find the hot hands for you, throw them to you here in the main feed. We're going to go to Barnes first as he's looking for his first strike of the game. Finally gets it in the 6th frame. Adcock looking for his 8th strike of the game. Goes high, breaks it up, but still looking for a chance for back-to-back games in the 270s. Adcock gets another 70 over. He'll be 200 over. He'll be ahead of the pace Dan Higgins set last Sunday. And there could be other players in the squad trying to chase Adcock down. One of those players doing it, though, right next door, Chris Barnes. Barnes and Adcock can be in a virtual dead heat for the lead going into the 6th and final game of their LBC National Championships round. Once again, you get one round a year. You better make it your best one while you're here because you don't get another chance until 2026. Once your 6 games for score have been entered. And Burkett, even though he was at plus 142, he's falling back rapidly after a terrible game 4. Salvaged a $184 out of it with the last 4 strikes. And don't count Michael Haggett out of it yet either. Haggett 130 over. Can finish with the game in the 230s, the full punch. Ryan Barnes did not double on that strike in the 6th frame, so he's going to be in need of a huge game 6 to try to pass E.J. Tackett. And wow, are you kidding me? At least the 10 went for Barnes. That head pin came off the sideboard and hopped up in the air and almost stopped dead in its tracks before it rolled over and slow rolled the 10. Barnes will be ahead on the plus side of the equation with Dan Higgins. Higgins plus 156 for 6 games. Barnes, if he shoots 241, will be at plus 170 already, so he would just need 200 or more to stay ahead of Higgins' score. But, of course, he can look around the bowling center and see about 4 other gentlemen in that senior classic division that could possibly outpace him over their last 2 games. One of those players being immediately to his left with Tom Adcock. As Adcock has a chance to go to 201 over with 158 of that over the last 2 games. Just goes to show you it's never over till it's over. You find the right ball in your hand on the right pair, and you keep fighting. And Johnson just a little tentative on that release. And Barnes gets them all to fall. 241, gets in the plus 170. most likely going to be a few pins behind the man to his left, stepping up on lane 23. Adcock. Oh, and he gets a little interference on the 7-pin. So that drops the max down into the 260 range. Ho-hum. All right, so Haggett, once again, another one of those players not too far behind Barnes. And keeping pace with Adcock. We're definitely going to stick with these players in Game 6 early on. As you can see, the struggles continue for Ryan Barnes. 176 the max. As he cannot find a double here on 3 opens to start in his Game 5. And E.J. Tackett might be breathing a little easier down in Bluffton, Indiana. And don't count the big lefty and Michael Haggett out yet. Haggett took down a regional title earlier this year in the Chicagoland area, back in March at Liberty Lanes. Took down a pretty loaded regional field sellout, 60 players plus in that one-day event. And he got through 17 games of competition in one day to take down that regional title. Well, not happy with that fill ball. The facetious air pump. Over to Ryan Barnes again. Trips one and still the chance for 170, but he's going to need a huge game to get past E.J. Tackett. Near perfection will be needed, if not perfection, depending on how he finishes. Actually, let's do the math. Plus 173, he's going to give up 24. Well, even with a perfect game, he's going to miss by a stick to E.J. Tackett. So this game has cost Ryan Barnes any chance of taking over the PBA exempt lead. That'll stay with EJ for another day, at least. But the man that we're going to be keeping an eye on here in our 6th and final game is Tom Adcock. I mean, obviously, we're keeping an eye on Barnes. We'll get down to Rudy Revs shortly, as Revs has got a big number on the board, too. 300 earlier and then a 280 in Game 4 to offset a terrible Game 2. But for that PBA exempt division tomorrow, 9 a.m. is Sean Lavery Spar, and then at 7 p.m. we have 4 bowlers on that squad with Matt Russo, Patrick Dombrowski, Bailey Maverick, and Dio Bernard. And then Matt Russo will join me in the booth on Sunday morning for for the 11 a.m. squad, noon Eastern time for those of you watching on YouTube. As we'll have the great doubles team of Andrew Anderson and Chris Prather. They won't be on the same pair, but they'll be bowling together. Adcock will be in the 250s. Yeah, it's a big chase here. Let's get down to Rudy Revs. Rudy Kazmakis, double spare and wrap 10. As Rudy's at plus 210. And he's gotten a majority of that in 2 games. 100 over in game 1 and 80 over in game 4. Just 30 over for games 2 and 3. Yeah, Abby, unfortunately, we don't have access to lane talk here with the scoring system. I'd love to have it. It's not the monitors that are blurry. It's just the distance they are from our cameras, how we have everything set up here. It's just a little tough to read from that distance with our cameras. When it's highlighted, when you see the bowler bowling, it's a lot easier to read. And if you're watching on a laptop or if you're watching on a desktop. Yeah, phones, any bowling scoring system's tough to read on a phone if you're watching on a mobile device. So, but at least you can see when it updates through. When your bowler's highlighted and it's their turn to bowl, you can get a little better idea of what their scoring is going to be. Don't count Hess out of it yet either. He might be 95 pins behind Rudy Revs. But as we've seen with Tom Adcock, put together a couple big games, get some big strike strings going. And you might be able to chase down the man from Mississippi currently. Talked to Lyle Kluman. He stopped by the booth before the stream. He goes, I'm just finding a way to leave a lot of 9s this year. Well, got them all that time. Wasn't the prettiest of shots, but he got them all to fall. Auerbach hanging tough, plus 130. Hey, LA. Good to have you in the chat there, homie GTV. So we'll stick most of the rest of Game 5 here with Rudy Revs and Tom Hess and their compatriots on the lane, and wow. How does nothing get near the 9-pin on a shot like that? I mean, nothing. You couldn't have parted those pins any better by moving them by hand or claymation than Rudy did right there. Hess keeps fighting. Unless Rudy throws a couple more doubles in there. I mean, obviously, in the lead and pacing the lead right now for Rudy. But you just don't want to make that mistake at the moment. You'll let somebody get past you for that guaranteed $5,000 first place spot in the Senior Classic division. Of course, that $5,000 guaranteed in the Senior Classic, Women's Classic, Men's and Women's Handicap divisions. $25,000 guaranteed on top for the Open Classic division. And $2,500 in scholarship money guaranteed for the winners of the Boys Handicap and Girls Handicap divisions. John Janowitz having a solid day, but not a title-winning day. As John gets his third in a row. For everybody that's tuning in, for players that are already done with Game 5, their Game 6, they're making a 4-pair move, skipping 3, landing on the 4th. So the players you see here on 3 and 4, they'll end up going to 11 and 12 their last game. And Nate Purchase, who's going to need a huge game in Game 6 to take out E.J. Tackett's lead in the PBA exempt division. We'll see Nate Purchase come down here to 3 and 4. Revs likes it. No, that one crept a little higher than I think he anticipated, but 4 went down in a hurry. So Nate Purchase with an extremely outside chance of taking down E.J. Tackett. 279 ain't going to cut it. And as we already mentioned, Ryan Barnes, even if he were to finish at 279 here, would still fall short of E.J.'s total. So that will hold on for at least one more day. Let's go up to the high end here. We know that Craig Keith was having a good day. He was 147 over coming into this game, and 31-32. Boy, it did not play nice with Tom Hess, and it is not playing nice with Craig Keith. As Craig's maximum here is going to be 182. And that's going to drop him off pace as well. So some players pacing pretty well, but nobody's outpacing Rudy Revs at the moment. Even with the ups and downs that Rudy's having. As we said, he's 210 over, but he's gotten 180 of that out of 2 games. So Hess can get to 234, and get the plus 149, but then again, everybody's still playing catch up on Rudy Revs. And that one, yeah, that seat, I thought he'd make a bigger move after almost leaving that exact same thing on his last shot. Tripped out the 410 pretty quickly in the 7th frame, but now in the 8th frame, that one comes back to bite him. Oh, and Kuhlman finds a ton of trouble. Oh, Rudy, how good of a day you having? Pick up the 410 just for the heck of it? Oh, we gave it a ride. Like 10 pins in the game. I would have changed balls after my 4th one. having that many corner pins in a row, yeah, it's time for a ball change. And if a ball change didn't work, then it would have been time to pop open a Miller Lite at that point in time. That's just me. Janowitz, the high hard one for Double J. That man loves himself some Olympia lanes in Hammond. He's won a title there before and made the stepladder again last night. Ended up with a 3rd place finish, so Janowitz will be building on that. He'll be heading home after the regional this weekend, as you'll see the PBA 60 players continue on to Columbus at Wayne Webb's Columbus Bowl for the PBA 60 World Series of Bowling. Oh, I don't know about that one. I don't know if you were watching, but that messenger gave me a tingle. That was a phenomenal messenger there by Tom Hess. There are men half his age that would love to throw a messenger like that. Let's be honest. My goodness. So Hess will be right around that plus 150 number. He's still going to have to chase down Kazmakis in the last game. Kazmakis get to 214, get to plus 224. That plus number leads, but you still got one more game to go for all these players. Good place for that for Hess. 233 gets in the plus 148, or an 1148 total for 5. Bill Fabian having a nightmare of a finish to this game. He's glad he doesn't have to see lane 4 for the rest of this event. So you'll see Rebs come in. Once again, Rudy Rebs, after this game, he'll be moving down to 11 and 12. And we'll stay with Casamakis. We'll stay with Hess. We'll follow Chris Barnes, as well as Barnes got a decent total. Barnes on 33 and 34. Barnes will throw before Casamakis, so Barnes at plus 180. That one slices high. Almost got a huge break to take the 3 and the 6 out. And you see Rudy like that one at 40 feet. He knew that was going to be flush, and he knew he's most likely looking at a 200 and saving this game when a lot of 9 counts started popping up on the score sheet. Yeah, that was left and quick for Rudy. He was trying to hope that would find a way to finish, but a little more oil on this LBC National Championships pattern in the middle than they see on the rest of the PBA50 tour, and he was begging for it to hop over the bump, and the bump got him. But still, Rudy Rebs, this 201 game at plus 211, looking to take the lead, so he has a 31 pin advantage over Barnes. Barnes at plus 180. And Tom Hess is going to be at plus 138. We'll find some other high scores and we'll try to peek in on them as players will be starting game 5. Or starting game 6 momentarily if they already haven't. Yeah, so they will have no idea. Barnes, Hess, and Barnes, Rudy, about what the other's doing. Is you can see here, Chris Barnes way up on the high end of the center, with Rudy Rebs going to 11 and 12, Tom Hess going to 13 and 14. Don't count Tom Adcock out of it either, because Adcock at plus 176 with a couple of big 270 games in games 4 and 5. He'll need to strike out here to get another game in the 270 range. I wouldn't put it past him. And John Burkett, wow, you just talk about a day where started out wonderfully, plus 154 for his first 3, and he's given 54 of that back. John Janowicz just had a strong finish. Got to 258. So Janowicz up to plus 156. So some numbers being shot here on this squad. No doubt about it. You knew it was going to happen. As Adcock, wow, and the head pin comes back off the sideboard and doesn't let the 5 get to the 7. You see that sometimes with the higher ball speeds, a little higher rev rate. So much momentum on the head pin that it comes off the sideboard right when the ball gets to the 5 pin. And then the head pin plays interference on the 5 instead of having the 5 take the 7 out. Well, Michael Haggett gets his second strike of the game, but once again with the pace Barnes is setting, Haggett's going to need to go off the sheet and get some help. We'll get down and join Rudy Revs and Tom Hess and company on 11 through 14. In a frame or two, they haven't even started their 6th game yet. So we'll stick down here with these players that are looking to get past Kazmakis's plus 211. And Barnes putting up a number early here in game 6. And that number is possible 279. Good to see Steve Kenyon here. I know Kenyon's been fighting some injuries, making the regional event this weekend. I believe on the PBA 60 side of the equation as well. Let's take a peek in on Kazmakis opening frame game 6. Opening strike game 6 for Rudy Revs. No, it's now official. EJ Tackett's going to be your PBA exempt division leader for at least another day, as Nate Purchase plus 169 for his first 5. Purchase needed obviously 282 to get past Tackett, but now his max score 280 after a second frame spare. Adcock needs that one to hold nicely, and it does. Oh, and Haggett with the extra huff. Oh, it has just been a nightmare. Games 4, 5, and 6 for Burkett. Corey Rockdeshel quietly today has gotten himself to plus 178. Problem is right now, he's staring at a 3, 4, 6, and 7 combination. How about a spare? There we go. Keep the dream alive, Corey. Back to Chris Barnes. And Barnes just automatic mode right now. Coming off that big win last night in the South Shore Open. His 7th PBA 50 title. And talk about being in good company. That title number 7 has him tied on the all-time list for PBA 50 with Earl Anthony and Double J, John Janowitz. Of course, Janowitz has gotten his a couple years quicker than Chris Barnes has, but there might be a little gentle ribbing about that between those two players, no different than the Tommy Jones has one more PBA Tour title than Chris Barnes does, and Tommy likes to remind Chris of that whenever possible. Barnes is going to take a re-rack. You are allowed, just like any other PBA event. Doesn't matter if you're on TV, doesn't matter if you're in qualifying, match play. You are allowed 2 re-racks per game. If you see a pin that's off spot that you're not happy with, as you see there for Barnes, you can take those re-racks whenever you like and get yourself a rack that you're happy and content with. Oh, the 7 went. The 6 just rattled in that flat gutter for Barnes. So still a chance for 258 for Barnes. But as we already mentioned, he's 31 pins behind Rudy Revs. Revs with an open in the second, though, needs to stop the bleeding in a hurry. And Rudy makes it happen. So bringing Rogue back in the booth for a moment. And Rogue, you know the equipment. You've been walking around watching what these guys have been throwing. And to give some people an idea that might be coming in for the PBA LBC National Championships over the next 3 weekends, what bowling balls they're using, there's not a lot of surface on this equipment. Now, I'd say a majority of the players that will come in have either PBA 50 Tour rev rates or below for that type of thing. So even for guys with medium rev rates like you see with Bill Fabian here, not a lot of surface on the bowling ball. And why would, people sometimes think 42 feet, 31.25 mils in the pair, you need surface. Why are these players staying away from surface?
So the other thing that people forget to take into consideration is topography in the lanes. Now, for your average bowler, you may not think of that, but when it comes to tournaments like this where you got one shot, 6 games, once a year to get top of your division, the one thing I've noticed about this house between last year and this year is the fronts tend to burn a lot. Your ball tends to try to spend a lot of its energy in the front part of the lane. So sticking to cleaner equipment, or like even earlier, a gentleman was throwing a polished Origin EX. getting away from the surface, getting some lane shine, getting something with polish on it helps. It's going to push through that front a little bit more, reserve a lot more of its energy. I've seen some people throwing some of the balls from the blackout line. Just having cleaner equipment, I think, is going to be overall very well. Tom Hess was throwing an Attention Star, which is a ASIM Pearl from Rotogrit, but once again, it is another one of those much smoother motion balls. Personally, for me, when I had bowled a little bit on this shot, using my Ion Max with a little bit of lane shine helped it get through the fronts better. So when taking into consideration the 6 balls that you're going to register for this tournament, think about stuff, medium-end equipment. Low-end equipment may not even be bad, but something with a stronger layout on it. Higher-end equipment, make sure it's not sanded to 500, 800. 1,000 might be okay to start, but you're going to last a game with that maybe. You want stuff that's going to have some polish on it, that's going to have some push through the front to save its energy for the back. Otherwise, you're going to be getting the weird hits like a 4-6 that we see on 33 or a lot of corner pins.
So Barnes with a strike on his fill ball will get to plus 238 or a 1438 total. So that is going to be the mark everybody else will have to get to here on this squad. I was waiting to see if Barnes was actually going to try one more piece of equipment on his fill shot. But no, going with the ball hand. You can see the shine on that ball. You see the lights from the ceiling reflecting on that surface. So, yeah, definitely, as we said, you don't need something that hooks really early on this pattern, even though it's heavier in volume and 42 feet in length, because the lane surface itself is going to fight what your bowling ball wants to do, especially if it has surface on it.
And playing inside a little bit. So how you see a lot of the guys, even lower red guys, are standing left of 20. The oil pattern has enough volume in the front, in the middle, to help with the counteraction of the burn that these type of synthetic lanes give here at Mount Prospect. Now, I will say, watching some people, they have been able to make playing right work, but it's not very long, and they have to have the right equipment. Otherwise, you are going to leave some weird splits. The ball's going to burn up a lot because there isn't oil to help it reserve.
Corey Rocktashell is running into some problems. As we said, he's 178 over, and now no doubles and clean through 5. And now Rudy Rev's really finding problems as he's looking at back-to-back opens here on lane 11. The super washout minus the head pin and only gets 2. So right now with Barnes at plus 238, that means 228 is the score necessary for Rudy Revs to get past Barnes to be leader on the squad. And with only 180 pins available to Rudy the last 6 frames, that's 234. So Rudy needs to run it to stay in the lead on the squad. Otherwise, Chris Barnes is going to be your new senior classic division leader. Of course, there's still a couple other bowlers with outside chances. We know Haggett up on the end. We'll check his score momentarily. Haggett finished in the 190s, so he's going to fall a little short. Let's check in on Adcock. Adcock can still get to 247, but that'll be short as well. And Burkett, yeah, unfortunately for Burkett, wow, yeah, just having rough games 4 and 5 is just taking him out of contention for the senior classic lead. So basically, yeah, Rudy Revs has to go yard. He needs 7 strikes in a row and good count. Because even if he goes spare and then off the sheet here, that's only going to be 224. That's only going to be 224, and that's going to leave him 3 pins short. So I don't know if word has worked its way down the bowling center or not. A couple other players in contention. Mario Quintero was 143 over. He's not going to be able to get. He can get the plus 200. That's it. We already mentioned Nate Purchase in the exempt division. He's not going to catch E.J. Tackett. Neither will Ryan Barnes. They'll both fall short of E.J.'s 1450 number.
Does JJ have a chance?
JJ, good question. JJ
Plus
was
156.
And let's get back. Yeah, I mean, 300 gets in the plus 256. So that's a possibility. So we'll stay here the rest of the run out, as this seems to be the only players that have a chance with, and Rudy Revs, as we mentioned. I mean, Revs and Double J got to keep striking. And that's going to end it. You just see the hands go up in the air for Rudy going, what happened on that shot? He thought he threw it pretty well. Yeah, Hess can't get there. Quintero can't get there.
Chris Barnes really locked in that last game.
Yeah, 258. Got it done, 33 and 34. It's a pair that we've seen hook a little bit more than a couple of pairs next to it, so must have gotten some scouting or watched himself between shots or players are rolling. Heck, it wouldn't surprise me if he had notes in his phone from the 2023 Illinois Classic that was here. Or 2024 Illinois Classic, I'm sorry. If that man ever sold his notes about every bowling center he's ever been in, all the differences between lanes he finds that he makes notes on and stuff, that could be $1 million book to some bowler. Of course, they'd only want to pay $3.99 for it, but it's $1 million worth of information.
$3.99. I feel like most people would say we get a free PDF download, right?
You are correct on that one, Rogue. You are very correct. All right, JJ. Can he get there with 279 and get past Barnes? No. 279 would leave him at 1435.
Ooh, good ball. Oh, that 10 pin.
So fully unofficially, nobody can get to Chris Barnes. Well, the 5 went last, but the 5 went for Rudy on that light hit. So Janowitz, after average, you hate to see 225 a game as an average start, but he was at plus 98 after 4, and then popped 258 in game 5. Got himself in contention to try to chase Barnes down, but that 10 pin right there is going to end that chance. But I mean, even past the $5,000 guaranteed for first place, you're still going to have a lot of checks written in that senior classic division, and finishing off as strong as you can. Parker won't just stop by the booth and he goes, I am working today. He's at plus 95 for his first 5 games. But definitely not the day Parker was looking to have. And then I think he's playing with John Rakowski as his doubles partners in that PBA50, PBA60 doubles right up the road in Arlington Heights, that PBA Midwest Regional this weekend. Hey, if you're in the neighborhood, if you're in the Chicagoland area, check out the PBA LBC National Championships, and then, check out a PBA Regional with some great PBA50 Tour stars in it. A lot of the players you saw here today, and even some players that didn't make it here to bowl on this squad. we'll be at Beverly Lanes in Arlington Heights, Illinois for that event. Saturday and Sunday. Qualifying Saturday, match play in the championship on Sunday. So we'll get a chance to go up and check out the equipment that Chris Barnes was using today. And I noticed on the recap sheet image you sent me that there were only 2 balls other than the spare ball on there. Which ball was used first? Which ball did he transition to?
So he started off with the Rockstar, which is Roto Grip's big symmetrical solid piece for the year. I personally have it. A lot of people have polished theirs. His probably had a bit of lane shine on it, which allowed it to carry through. And then he ended with the Vivo, as people like to nickname it, the Virtual Energy Blackout, which is I want to say came out 2-3 years ago now, in December. I want to say December 23. And it's an ASIM Pearl. Very strong ASIM, but as Phil had mentioned before, 33, 34 likes to hook a lot. So with a ball like that, you can definitely trust it to just kind of send out over there. If you stand left, send it out, and it's going to wheel back hard. It's definitely a great piece, one of the better balls that has been released in the last 5 years, and from the Blackout line. If anyone has one of the Blackout line balls, Lightning Blackout, Virtual Energy Blackout, Physics Blackout, not going to go wrong bringing it with.
There you go. Thanks for the insight, Rogue, once again. So, yeah, pick her brain. If you see her here, don't pick my brain. I can give you little things here or there. Apparently, I can only give you advice that works for 3 games, like we saw with John Burkett when he was picking my brain earlier. Once the lanes transitioned, yeah, then it was Burkett had some issues. Let's see if we can get a couple of big finishes here out of Janowitz and Kazamakis. There you go. That's what John needed last time on that lane. 6 just got lazy. This time it takes the 10 out.
That's another thing I've noticed is that if you get a little bit too straight with your angles, it's a lot of corner pins. You have to give it just a little bit of angle outside. If you're lefty, give it angle left. Righty, give it angle right. But if you're a little bit too straight, that thing's going to want to go 60 feet.
So Hess covering things up. Solid day for Hess. It's not ending the way he wanted, obviously. He thought he had a nice run towards getting the top spot. But that will be going to one PBA Hall of Famer, Chris Barnes.
Hess has had a great look all day.
Yeah.
It was just more of those pocket nines.
in game 3, when he was on 31 and 32, yeah, he had back-to-back opens early on in that game. And then when you're just trying to fight back, you're trying to salvage something, that just takes a little bit extra out of you mentally. I don't care if you're Walter Williams Jr. or Joe Average Bowler. I mean, you're trying to figure that out. That's a mental distraction to you. You're in that groove before that, and all of a sudden you go into panic mode. 1 open, okay. 2 opens, you make a change. You get that 3rd open, it's like, yeah, what do I need to do here? What the heck's going on? So,
if anyone would like a funny story, I had a league night during the fall season. Forgot what lane what pair I was on. One lane, it was the odd lane. Pocket 710 with 1 ball. Switch balls. Pocket 710 again. Switch balls again. And another pocket 710. 3 pocket 710s in a row on that same lane with different balls. Sometimes the lanes are just not your friends.
Oh, and Rudy finds more problems. The 2-6? Really? Rogue, when's the last time you've seen somebody leave a 3-4 and a 2-6 in the same block?
I don't know.
I can't name one. Nate Purchase, take care of yourself. Jeff, take care. We'll see you. Nate tried giving a run towards that PBA exempt top spot. Fell a little short today. So Janowitz can pass Kazmakis, especially if Rudy doesn't convert. This 2-6.
Have you ever seen the 2-3 left? Is that even possible?
At the Peterson.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I've left the 2-3-4 at the Peterson before. So that leaves Rudy Revs. Yeah, 188 maximum, and that's going to drop him his score. Will max out at plus 199. How about that, though? 2 games, he catches plus 180, and the rest of his games, he's even. Wow. I remember a couple of years ago, in the inaugural event of the PBA LBC National Championships, we had Chad Moss out of the Milwaukee area throw a 300 in the singles part of his, in the doubles part of his block, and then throw a 300 in the 4-player team part of the block. So it was like game 2 and game 6, I think. And I think he barely had 800 for his other 4 games. That's kind of like what Rudy's having.
He's
the
still
issue is
walking
right
away
here.
with a Duke of some sort. He's still walking away with a Duke.
Yeah, he's got the mini Duke, that's for sure, but he's not going to get his chance to. Get the big Duke. As right now, for the senior class division, that's going to be Chris Barnes taking the lead on that event. So we're going to end the audio portion of our broadcasting day. Thanks to everybody that joined us here on the PBA YouTube channel. We have that new leader. Glad you're here to see that for the Senior Classic Division with Chris Barnes. A couple big days for Chris Barnes. Took down $7,500 last night at the South Shore Classic in Hammond for his 7th PBA50 title, and now it lines up to possibly take down $5,000, if not more, if he makes it all the way to the PBA National Championships clash after our final weeks of competition roll up here. I want to thank Rogue Foppy once again for joining us in the booth. She'll be here tomorrow with us as well on that 10 a.m. squad. We'll get some additional insights from Rogue as she sees the players taking in the lanes. Yeah, good place to end on that. Sorry, JJ.
Oh, wow.
Not my fault.
Like I said earlier, this place loves a pocket 8, a pocket 9. I don't know why.
That's the way to go out. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Stone 8 for JJ. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, your start time for that squad.
concludes your competition for today. Please bring your completed score sheet to the tournament office. From all of us at the PBA, thank you for your support of the PBA LBC National Championships. Everyone travel safe.